If you're going into law enforcement, it is important to know what you should or should not do. Let's take a look at some of the most important things you should know before you get a badge. Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you're having a fantastic weekend so far. So you've decided a career in law enforcement is the path that you want to take. You just want to take bad guys to jail and save the day. And although that is an admirable mindset to have, it is very common. And unfortunately, it is also very narrow in the scope of things that you'll actually be doing. With this job comes a lot of responsibility, there is no question about that. But as a seasoned officer with over a decade in experience, I want to teach you some of the things that I wish somebody would have told me. Although police academies have valuable information, there's a lot of life lessons that aren't taught there. They teach you law, they teach you the basics of tactics and shooting, but what they don't teach you is how not to get your ass into a bind, even if it's inadvertently. Let's start with my first piece of advice. Number 1, write your reports accurately. Every day in your job on patrol, you are going to be required to write reports. In some jurisdictions, you might have upwards of 20 reports or more a day. Whether it's a stolen credit card, a motor vehicle accident, a fight, whatever the reason, one way or another, you are going to have to write reports. And as time goes on, it is very easy to get complacent and to get lazy when you write your reports. Eventually, there will be a day that you have to go to court to answer for that report. Not all of them, but some of them. And it might be a case that you never expected to go to court on, and it might also be years down the road. When that day comes and you realize that your report not only doesn't have the information that you need, or even worse, you didn't do one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to get your ass spanked by a defense attorney while you are on the stand and several dozen people are watching you, or someone dangerous is going to get off the hook because you did not decide to do your job, or both. Now here it is 2 years later and you don't even remember the case. Most people think cops take reports and then they go to court shortly after, and that is not the case. There have been times I have sat in court and I have heard cases from 4 or 5 years prior. I have even seen former officers who haven't been cops in years have to come to court to testify for reports they wrote when they still had a badge. Number 1 leads me to number 2. Always tell the truth in court. If you are on the stand and the defense asks you a question that you do not remember, there's nothing wrong with saying you don't remember. Don't ever make something up to get a conviction. That's how officers get caught lying and they get in serious trouble. Your job is not to get a conviction. Remember that. Your job as a cop is not to get a conviction. You are a fact finder. Let the justice system work the way it's supposed to. All you are there is to tell the facts. You're not the judge, you're not the jury. Tell the facts. It is not your responsibility to do anything other than to report your observations. Go ahead and get it into your mind now that you will never win every single case throughout your career. It happens. But do not ever jeopardize your integrity for a criminal. And another aspect to that is if the court can't trust what you have to say, you are useless and your department will probably fire you. Number 3, nothing is free. Think about that. Nothing is free. Even at 3 o'clock in the morning when the clerk at the Circle K is giving you free coffee, nothing is totally free. Although it is very generous for business owners to provide us with free drinks and free food occasionally from different establishments, this oftentimes puts officers in a position where they kind of have to show favoritism to a certain business or place because they do get those free things. Have we all done it? Yes, most of us have. Most cops have accepted free coffee at 3 a.m. or a free sandwich at McDonald's. But this can lead to an entire shift of officers rushing to a store to help Bob the manager with a shoplifting. Meanwhile, Edna the homeowner gets a half-assed burglary investigation for somebody that broke into her house. Number 4, don't ever fudge on your expenses. Most departments allow out-of-town training for their officers. Sometimes officers are even written a check as an estimate of how much they're going to have to spend for that trip. Other departments have a book full of credit cards that they will issue out to people. They sign them out and then they give them back with their receipts when they are back from their trip. Whatever you do, never lie about how much you've spent. And for God's sakes, please don't ever buy alcohol with departmental money. every department keeps very close track of their money. And when they see that $50 dinner at a steakhouse that you never mentioned, I hope your job was worth that ribeye. Number 5, don't ever lie to your supervisors. Another one of my number 1 rules. I seem to have a lot of number 1 rules, but they're all important. Don't ever lie. If you messed up, own up to it, take the punishment, and move on with your life. Just like with your parents when you were a kid, lying will get you in 10 times the amount of trouble that you were in before. Another thing about seasoned cops is they usually know whether something's true or not before they even ask you. Sometimes they'll ask questions they already know the answers to just to see if you're going to be honest about the rest. Lying is another way to lose your job on the spot. Don't do it. When I was a new officer, I was involved in an officer-involved shooting, and I was riding with somebody and I was outside of my jurisdiction. I was carrying my firearm that was issued to me from my department, but I was doing this ride along in a separate jurisdiction, and this shooting happened. And the thing I can tell you is the only thing that saved my ass when I was brought in and questioned about this days later is that I was honest about it. I had no hesitation, I answered truthfully, and they even specifically told me that they already knew the answers to it. They were just going to see if I was going to lie about it, and I didn't. So I got a smack on the hand for doing a ride along off duty, and that was the end of it. Number 6, never take money. No matter the circumstances, never take money from anybody. About 3 years ago, I was on a traffic stop. I stopped somebody for speeding, and I ended up writing him a warning. I wrote him a warning, I went up to the window, he signed it, and he tried to give me $20. This guy was so aggressive about trying to give me the $20 after I refused it several times. He got out of his car and put it in the roadway and said, "I'm just gonna leave it right there for you. If you wanna get it, you can get it." I said, "Sir, as much as I appreciate that, your $20 is about to blow into the wood line because I cannot take it. I will not take it. I appreciate it, but no thank you." And he kind of laughed it off, and he walked over and got the 20, got back in his car, and he left. But again, never take money from anybody, especially to do or not do any sort of official job function. Number 7, and this is my final one, never forget that you bleed the same color everybody else does that you deal with. I have seen so many people come into this profession, and I see a lot of mainly younger guys come into this and they feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof. Don't be one of those cops that thinks they're invincible. Body armor is not impenetrable, and there's always somebody out there that can shoot better than you. So remember that. There is always somebody bigger and badder than you out there. So before you puff out your chest and you feel like you're in charge, let me tell you that your first couple of fist fights will humble you. So learn from them. In closing, the last thing I want to say to you guys is be fair. Just be fair to people. Treat people the way you would expect to be treated by an officer. There's nothing wrong with being firm, but there's a time and a place, but always be fair. So yeah, be good. Don't end up on the news, and don't end up as case law for violating someone's civil rights. Be a decent human being and you will have a fantastic career in law enforcement. Anyway guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching my video. I sincerely appreciate it. The last thing I want to show you guys, I kind of want to give a shout out to Sheepdog Woodwork. Sheepdog Woodwork took it upon themselves to send me this in the mail. How cool is that? If you guys want to check out Sheepdog, I'm going to put all of their information in the description below. You can check them out. They have a lot of good products. This is solid. This is solid cherry wood and very high quality. And before somebody asks me, I'm not being sponsored by them. They did not pay for this video. I am just amazed at the quality of their work, and I really appreciate them sending me this. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend, and I will see you guys very, very soon.